trying to imagine being called by God to go and serve among an unreached people group, yet you have no funds to pursue it. And I'm not referring to the American train of thought of not having funds, but literally you have no funds and no avenue to even attempt to raise the money. This is the reality of 4 Christians in Malawi, a country considered one of the poorest in the world. Now stay with me and let's get started. Hey, my name is Steve and welcome to our channel. And as you listen today, think about people who need to hear this message, and then at the end of the video, please share it with them. The 4 I mentioned in Malawi didn't just have no money to be a missionary like many of us might say, but they literally had very few resources to tap into. In fact, to be obedient to their calling, to be obedient to God, they entered formal missionary training with no funds to pay for it and no avenue to raise it. Now let's imagine God called you to do what God called them to do. Would you take the same kind of faith step that they took? Would you obey God? Now I'm not saying we shouldn't raise money, because some of us have more avenues to raise it than others. But regardless, would you step in faith and trust God to provide when it appears impossible, or I guess we could say illogical from a human point of view? I mean, Jesus called fishermen to drop and leave their entire business, their only source of income at the shoreline, to follow him. They didn't sell the business, they didn't reinvest the business, they didn't leave it with family or friends. They left their business totally behind. Peter stepped out of a boat, and we all know this story. He stepped out of a boat in the middle of the sea to walk on water toward Jesus with nothing to hold him up but water. And God told Moses to raise up his staff and part the Red Sea. You see, walking by faith is not lived out nor proven by wearing a Christian t-shirt. It's something we actually have to live out in action, not theory. Let's face it, the Bible is full of scenarios where God is calling his people toward the impossible, and sometimes illogical. So how do you know when it's time to take that faith step? The first part of my answer is it's got to be the Lord leading you, which means you need to be communing with God so that you can hear from God. If you're not communing with him, you're not likely hearing from him. And as you commune with God, I encourage you to involve the elders in your church and life. Get them involved. Share with them what you believe the Holy Spirit is guiding you to do, and let them help you discern whether God is truly leading you or not. Elders are in our lives for a reason, and I believe this is one of them. Now, don't get me wrong. You could do these 2 things perfectly, but you will always have naysayers, fellow believers, Christians, who might consider your decision crazy, possibly irresponsible, and some may even challenge your abilities to pursue the calling. Believe me, I've experienced everything I just described. I mean, every bit of it. But if I had listened to and followed my naysayers' advice rather than the Holy Spirit and the elders in my life who affirmed what I believed to be my calling at the time, Silk Road Catalyst would not be here today. And my initial calling wasn't to start Silk Road Catalyst. It was to leave my career that I loved behind and become a full-time missionary. That step of faith started my journey, which ultimately led to launching Silk Road Catalyst 13 years later. And so I ask you, if God called you in a similar way that he called those 4 people in Malawi, would you obey and step in faith, or would you ignore and walk the other way? As my friend David Joannis in Thailand likes to say, there are lost people waiting on the other end of our obedience. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me today, and let me know what you think in the comment section, because I would love to engage with you. And while you're at it, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. I'll see you next time.